Welcome to Grace Over Grit and Growth, the podcast where we empower women to be who they are gracefully while being unapologetic.
Hello there, I am Monique Fisher,
I am Aleita Anderson.
and welcome to Grace Over Grit and Growth, where today we're going to talk about your legacy being locked in, right? Planning your estate with intention.
Yes.
So this is something that is near and dear to my heart because I have experienced several deaths in my family, and I've been through doing some of this. So it's a passion of mine to get people out here to do their estate planning. And what we do know is that 64% of African Americans don't have a will, a trust, or anything. And we see it. We used to pass the hat, but now it's the GoFundMe. It's a little bit more high tech now.
It's digital.
But it's digital. It's digital. Can you help us help Pookie and Ray and so it's just we as a culture, we need to do a better job of preparing because it's a very emotional time. And those that you leave behind, they have to deal with so much. The emotion of you being gone and then trying to really sit there and figure out what your wishes were, where you can just take the time to kind of just lay that out.
And it's a short, those things move quickly. It's a short amount of time you have to figure all that out.
Yeah.
It's without a plan in place.
We're not trying to have you in the living room like they did James Brown for 2 weeks, right?
Oh, goodness.
We're trying to get you where you want to be.
The longer you wait, the more it costs.
The more it costs, right?
So, yes,
yeah,
even where it goes.
Once they take the body, you paying for storage. And so it's just a myriad of things.
It's a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot.
And like you mentioned, with the 64%, if you have nothing to pay, what does that look like? So in that case, there's a couple different things that happen. The probate.
Probate.
So things are going to the state. So now everything, the things that you've worked hard for, the state then has to go through the process with probate through the state to determine what percent do they get to your family. And of course, because it's going through the court system, they're getting a percent as well.
Exactly.
So you don't want that. And then we also have an opportunity for the court to say it's going to be heirs property, which then everybody
then they got to go out and find
people to agree or to say yay, nay,
and that's a cost.
And that cost as well.
Yes.
And the biggest thing is what you're losing is when we talk about legacy, when we talk about home ownership and the different assets that you accumulate, we're losing the ability to transfer wealth.
Yes.
So one of the things that we've for years have said that African Americans start behind because of that lack of wealth transfer, because for a while we couldn't own homes, we couldn't have assets. So we were starting, every generation was starting from ground zero. That doesn't have to be the case now. So that you can prepare. It's great. We've solidified you getting into the house. You have a home. You may have, an investment property as well, other assets that you want to pass along to children or grandchildren. But have you prepared for that to happen? Do you have a will? Do you have a trust?
Right.
Do you know the difference?
Do you know the difference?
Do you know, that's a big thing.
And we've seen those scenarios where, this was grandma's house and, maybe she didn't plan it out. So grandchildren are living there. Then if they want to go move or if you want to sell it, you can't because it's still in grandma's name. And now you have to go through probate. And probate can be expensive. It's very public. So what does that mean? That means that, I was related to grandma. I was her stepsister, or I was her whatever.
Or I was a child.
Like
a child
to her. Right.
So
and people can contest anything or bring up anything in probate and say, I deserve part of that estate.
Yes.
So probate, it takes time and it's very expensive. It's expensive on the back end.
Yes.
And that even comes if you have a will.
That does.
If you have a will, you have to go to probate. Yes.
So they have to still deem it. So just because it's written down doesn't mean that's what's going to happen. Because as we said, probate isn't free as well. So those fees have to get paid somehow, somewhere. Sometimes it's out of the state. So you have to figure out what that's going to look like.
Right.
And I think that there's a big misnomer that you have to have so much money to have a trust. And that's not the case.
That is not
the number we came up with that we saw was what,
about $150,000.
So
if you have a home,
yes,
I would personally have a trust because it helps you it's a management system to say what happens if I pass away, what happens to this house. Where does it go? Who does it go to?
It's a way of giving instruction. So not only who gets what, you can say when they get it.
Right.
And if there's a certain, let's say there's one asset and you want it split between two kids, it's 50-50. Maybe one is a little bit older, so the older one gets their access to whatever right away. The younger one, maybe when they turn 21. It's the stipulations that you want to put in place that is then that's how things are going to happen. It's not contestable, so it's not going through probate for someone else to deem, no, we really don't think that should happen. We're going to do this instead. It really is what you say is law in that instance.
Right. And a trust is a well thought out plan.
Mm-hmm.
It takes a lot of time to do. There's a lot of documentation. You can put health directives in there, because what happens, if you're deathly ill, do you want to be resuscitated? Do you want to, as my mother used to say, I'm going to stay on my cold. Hey, don't put no switches off on me. Just let me live. But that was her wish, right? And so that's what you do. So you may say these things out loud, but they need to also be written down.
They do.
Because different people will come up and say, well, that ain't what she told me.
I remember when she was braiding my hair on the porch. We talked about this when we were little kids. And it's like, and you may have, like, those things, but you also may have had a conversation last week.
Right. With
somebody. That is very different than what they talked about before.
Changed. Absolutely.
And that just adds to the stress of the back and forth, the emotions. So it takes all of that out of there, because it's all in black and white. And these are the directives, and these are things that are going to be done. So it takes, if not for yourself, just for the peace of mind for your family.
For your family. That's who you're doing it for.
Yes.
That's exactly who you're doing it for. And Aleita and I, we are not just transactional, we're very relational with our clients. And so even when they get homes, we want to make sure these following things, right? That they have a homestead exemption on their home.
Yes.
We want to make sure that they have proper insurance, right? That covers everything in case something happens. We talked to them about having an emergency fund. You need to have an emergency fund set up, funds for maintenance, because all of these things happen when you become a homeowner, right? You have to, you may not be getting a brand new house. And even with a brand new house, sometimes you have things that come up. So you need to have these funds set aside. And of course, you want to have clear title. So when you buy a home, that's part of what you pay for, where they do research to make sure if you're buying a home that from someone else, that is totally clear and free of any debts or liens, and that you are now the true owner of it with no debt.
Yes.
So those are things that we talk about too that are very important. And that's why we always talk about, we don't want you to be cash poor.
Right.
We do not want you to buy a house at the top of your, purchase power, because you necessarily can't live, right? And you need money for things like this.
Yes. And especially now, just take a look right now. The cost, if you bought a house 10 years ago and you were like, okay, yeah, I have surplus of another $800 per month after I paid my household bills, whatever. At the rate things have gone up,
your taxes are eating that up.
Taxes, your food, gas, everything else has gone up. So if you started at the top of where you were at, you're negative. And that's stressful.
It is.
So that's one of the things, not saying that we know what's going to happen in the future, but we pretty much know things are going up. Pretty much can guarantee that.
Absolutely.
They do come down and then they go back up. But that's one of the reasons that we're having those consultations with you, to kind of walk through, because in the moment you're seeing now, and I totally get that. You're seeing now, you see what your financial picture is right now, and you can only envision it getting better. And a lot of times people have increased their income, and not at the rate at which the cost of living has gone up.
Correct.
So that's not an offset there. So when we're having these conversations, we're like, okay, great, we've gotten into the house. Now what? It's because we don't want you to be blindsided and have to make decisions out of desperation.
Yes. And so a trust is truly a management system, and it's something that's in place and in effect while you're living. A will doesn't take place until after you die.
Right.
These are the things that I want done once I pass away. But a will, a trust, you can set those things up now. What if you become incapacitated? What do I want to happen? It's all in that trust, right?
What if you have kids that are under 18?
What if you have kids under 18? It's in that trust. Who do they go to? you know, maybe it's not really the godmama or the goddaddy you want them to go to.
You know what? That's so okay. Side note. This godparent thing has really gotten, because the majority of people that I know who have godchildren or with godchildren, or some people I know the god kids, if something were to happen to the parents, I don't feel like those people are the people who are going to take care of them. I feel like some of the people have been seeing the kids since they were at the hospital, or you know what I mean? So I don't know I think we've gotten away from what the godparent thing was supposed to be like. So it just baffles when you say, like, what does that actually mean nowadays? I don't think it has the same meaning anymore.
Yeah, I don't either. That's what I'm saying too. You may not want your godparent. You may look at it and say, you know what?
Absolutely not.
I've been watching you mature. Now I don't want you to take my kids.
Well, I've been watching you not mature.
Right. The way you mature. You know, I remember when I did my will, I had put in my cousin and her husband if something happened to my kids. My mother was highly offended, you know, but I'm like, you older. Do you want to take the kids? Right. She was like, absolutely, and I need you to change it. I was like, okay. You know, and so I did change it, but that was my thought. But again, I'm saying this lightly because I think these are still conversations you should have as a family. Right. You should have those conversations with people as to, especially if you have minor children, as to who you would want to take care of them and to be in their lives. So.
Funny story, someone that I know was trying to determine who was going to be the guardian. They were doing their estate.
Yeah, okay.
They were trying to determine who would be the guardian if something were to happen to their kids. So before they just assumed, like, you know, we're just going to name you, you know, let me ask you if that's okay. Right. So they went out to dinner. They were having a conversation about, hey, we were putting together our estate and we're trying to think if something were to happen, you know, where would the kids go, whatever. And we see how you are with your kids. I think we have same parenting styles. I feel safe with my kids over there. Would that be something you're interested in? The first question from the person was like, well, how much money are you leaving to take care of them? Like, what does that look like? Because I already have kids. And so she was like, what? Let me second guess that, because yes, I do think that there should be some money left to take care of the person. But if that's your first question, I don't know. So it made her kind of rethink it and think it. But like you mentioned, without having those conversations, you have a natural just, oh, I know this person would do that. Or I feel this person would do that because we've known each other for years and years. And it's not that they wouldn't do it, but people don't always do things the same way that you would do it.
Exactly.
So you kind of have to be sure that you're on the same page and that you're okay with how they would do it.
Ain't nobody else in your family.
And that's another point too. I think people, when you start having those conversations, you realize that that's a big responsibility.
It is a big responsibility.
And do you really want
it? And
it?
if you have kids and then you're adding to it, I mean, you know, it's a fair question to ask. And I'm not mad at her for saying, well, you're going to leave a little something. Now, maybe that would not have been my first question.
No, like I said, I do think that should be like, no, like, what does all this entail?
Exactly.
Because if I have
said
3 kids that they're all the same age, everybody going to college at the same time, like that, oh, wait, how am I going to do this? You know?
Yeah.
So I get what you're saying and the reason for it.
Yeah.
But like you said, I think it should have been probably worded a little different.
Just a little different.
Should be like, wait, is it more beneficial for me to knock you off now?
Right.
Or what? Like, where is this money coming from? But for the first thing, I think that kind of, it's kind of the story that goes back to the Bible when they had the baby and it's the mom, they asked the moms and one was willing to sacrifice and one was really mom. Mm-hmm. Like, what is your real goal? Like, what do you really mean? You know, what does this mean to you?
Right.
If they don't have the same heart as you, it's no hard feelings, but you kind of want to think about those decisions. Now, the good thing with the trust is that it's changeable. So if somebody was the person that you thought, and then all of a sudden they're a person that you're like, oh, no way would I want my kids there. You can change that. So as life changes, and it should be something that you review at least once a year to make sure that all your wishes are still the same.
Yeah. And I know a lot of people say, well, it's so expensive. Mm-hmm. You know, I don't want to do it up front. But trust me, a will and probate can be more expensive it's down the line, and maybe you're not here for it, but in order to get your estate together, right, it's gonna cost. And I can tell you in this area, trust, and based on how many things you have, you may have elaborate lot of real estate or whatever, but the average trust is between $2,500 and $3,000. So just to set up. Yeah.
And you have to think about it this way. Like we mentioned, if you have a house, and let's say you set up a trust and you bought this house, and now let's just say 15 years. You've been in the house for 15 years, something happens, and now the house is going to your kids. We see it now where people have bought a house 15 years ago and they're like, oh my gosh, it's like sticker shock looking at it now.
Right.
So the house has, of course, gained equity, is a different price point. If it has to go to probate and things have to be split up, your family may not be able to afford to keep it without they have to split. And like you said, it's a longer term cost. If you're paying $3,000 for them to inherit a house that's probably gained several hundreds of thousands of dollars of equity,
right, it's worth it. It's minimal.
So you really have to look at not just what that dollar. And I'm not saying that $3,000 is just chump change. I'm not. No. But what I'm saying is when you look at it in comparison to what you have the opportunity to gain or lose if you don't do it, it then makes sense for the numbers to say, okay, this is something I should figure out a way to make sure that I'm covered and I have.
And just know real estate law that if you have a house and you don't designate who, who, if it doesn't have a co-owner, and say it did have a co-owner and they died, or say a spouse died and now the other spouse died, if nobody's designated to have that house, it goes to the county in which you live in. And that's Illinois law. So they inherit that house.
Yes.
And we work too hard for our assets.
Yes.
And that is usually the biggest purchase of most people's lives, to lose, right? We don't want to do that.
We don't want to do that. And I've had instances too where families have come to me where they've inherited a home and they're like, okay, we want to sell this house. And I really do talk them through the why do they want to sell. Some of it's, well, we already have a house, I don't need it. Maybe there's a sibling that doesn't have a house. So, okay, well, maybe we just buy this sibling out, but instead of it going on the market and sell it and you just splitting the money, because yes, you get the money, but that money's here and gone. If you could keep it in there and somebody that doesn't have a house and can maintain a house, that's probably better. And what does it look like?
Then what does that look like? So I did have somebody who had a will, but it was never put in the probate. But she owned the house. The dad left it to her. But because it never went to probate, we had to find all the heirs to make sure that they still were okay with her owning the house. We still had that original will.
Yes.
It was a will, which can be contested at any time. But fortunately, they all signed off. And she was able to she wanted to sell the house, and she was able to sell it. But that's a prime example of it being able to be contested. If one of those siblings would have said, no, I want part of it too, or I want my name on it. She could have sold it, but she'd have to split the proceeds.
Right.
So it's very important to understand those differences between wills and trust and what they can afford you.
Yes.
And please don't think that I don't really have anything. Yes, you do.
You do.
You really do.
You do.
You have more than you think.
Yeah. And I always look at it this way. Even if you're passing on, people are like, I'm not passing on that much. But that's, even if what you're considering passing on is what you consider a little bit, it's still not zero, meaning that whoever you're passing to is not starting from zero. So even if you give me 5, that's better than the 0. I'm not starting from scratch. And that's what the goal is, for us to build each other up so that our kids aren't starting from scratch. Because when you have to keep starting over and over again, it's harder to get to that finish line because you're starting back from here. You get right here, now I got to start over again. Go back a little further, we got to start. So if we can get here and then grow and then grow and then grow, we can get to the finish line a little bit faster.
Yeah.
And that's what it's all about. Want to make sure that you're leaving a legacy. So we always talk about building a legacy, but as you're building it, you also have to think forward enough to how do you leave it so that it can be maintained and grow.
And the trust is the way to do it.
That's it. Yes, it is.
It's definitely a way to do it. So, again, this is something that's near and dear to my heart. And We will plan this for this year too. We will have an estate planner.
Oh, yeah.
We're going to have somebody on next week
Mhm.
who's going to talk about a new app that he's created to help you with estate planning. And I just think that's phenomenal. I
Yeah,
can't wait for
organizing
that. And
everything.
organizing everything. And we can also do a seminar from an attorney's perspective too, to help you with that. We are truly committed to this, because this is how we, as Aleita said, not just build it, but leave it,
Yes.
pass it on.
Mhm.
And that is truly a passion of ours.
It is. And it all starts with the conversations.
Yes, it does.
It's not, I truly don't believe that people are not doing this because they don't want to. They don't really see the need because it's not understood, because there's not enough information, because we're not having the conversations. Right. So that's what we want to start having, these conversations frequently and being very candid about what will and won't work.
And things may change. I always said I would be buried. Now I'm moving towards cremation.
Me too.
That's a personal decision that I've made. Maybe 10 years ago you'd have asked me, I'd be like, no, you're not cremating me. But I've seen some things, experienced some things, and I'm thinking that's a different route, better route for me. So that better be written down, and it is. So, it's important that if you even change, again, as Aleita said, in that trust, you can always amend the trust. You can always go back and make changes. Yes. You may want to then go back. I don't know, but you have that ability to do that. It's an option to you. So.
And it gives you something to think about. And I think it helps you form your decisions too on a day-to-day basis. What are you doing all this for?
Yeah.
How are you going to move it forward? And having the conversations, because I've seen also several times, and I know you have as well, where even though they're adult children, they're not prepared to take on the responsibilities and the things. So, okay, how many times have we seen people lose homes for taxes?
Oh, yeah.
It's like, no, this house is paid for. It is, but you still have to pay the taxes. So those discussions, are you going to have? And it's funny because as I've gotten older, people you've seen, like grandparents, aunts, people that have several kids, and they'll designate one to be like, okay, this is the person that's going to handle this, and then this person's going to do that. It's because the parents know their kids.
Oh, absolutely.
So a lot of times, even when we're talking about, if you know your kid is not the one that's most responsible, maybe you say, okay, this is X amount of money, but this is going to taxes each year. And you have to do X, Y, and Z to make sure this is, some checks and balances in there to make sure that it is maintained. So those types of things can be stipulated and can be done.
You can leave money for that.
Yeah.
You can say, I have this $100,000, just an example. Say taxes are only $500 a month or whatever, which we know is way more than that. But you can say for the next 5 years, this amount of money is going towards taxes, and then what's left over from that, you all can split or do. So you can put all kinds of provisions in there. Yes. I know when we did ours, they did something called a catastrophic. So of course, everything would go to Chris and Kyle for us. But they said, what if you, Chris and Kyle and Georgia are all in the car together? Then what happens to your estate? So it makes you think, yeah, what would I do? Because I sure don't want the state to get it.
Right.
So you have to. It takes time. You plan it out. So, like I said, I'm looking forward to talking to Jay because next week, because he has those tools in his app to help you build and do that. Rome wasn't built in a day. It takes some time, but we just want you to start thinking about it and understanding the importance of it.
Yes.
And what it means for your family.
And don't be shy to reach out with questions or resources. Like we said, we have attorneys that we work with. We work with clients that are handling probate, have the estate issues, all of that. So we have seen those things, and we're happy to point you in the right direction if we don't have the answer, to experts that do, that we've paired ourselves with. So reach out with questions. You can send us DMs. You can reach out to either one of us personally. We'd be happy to help you.
Yeah, just drop us something in the comments. You know where you can find us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube.
Yes, you can.
Yes, and hit that subscribe button if you haven't hit it. Hey, share it.
Definitely
share this information. Let's not just hold on to things. Let's share.
And like I said, we're going to have some upcoming estate planning seminars. So if that's something you're interested in, just drop a comment, shoot a DM saying interested in seminar, or just seminar. Just put seminar, we'll know. So as we're planning those, we can make sure that you get an invitation. Even if you are not local, we do them a lot of times. They'll be on Zoom as well, so that we can still include you, so you can still see it. So if this is something that's of interest to you, just drop seminar in the chat, and we will see it, and we'll make sure that we reach out to you when we have them.
So I think that's good.
That is good. So I appreciate you all tuning in as always. Until next time, bye-bye.